Give me a few minutes and I will show you, no pun intended, how to show instead of tell, why you should show instead of tell, what it actually means, and what a difference it makes in your book. Now, trust me, it took me a long time to learn this. This is why I got rejected so much in the beginning of my career. I wrote 10 books in 8 years and a million first chapters, second chapters, fifth chapters, all kinds of different versions and fits and starts of books that never went anywhere. And it was because editors and agents were saying, I just don't feel anything when I read this book, or this book isn't captivating me. These characters are coming across as flat. And I was like, I don't know, they're real to me. But the reason why all that was happening was that I was telling instead of showing. And once I learned how to do all that, it worked out okay. Now, why listen to me instead of all of the other writing instructors that are out there on YouTube and TikTok and everywhere else? Because I've sold 8 million copies. I'm published in 24 countries. I'm a New York Times bestselling author. And I learned these lessons the really, really hard, long, difficult way because I'm a tiny bit stubborn and I really thought I knew what I was doing and I didn't. And I want to save you all of those rejections. I want to save you those 1-star reviews. I want to save you 20 years of writing crappy books that don't make you any money. Because let me tell you, a lot of people really struggle with this. I've picked up dozens of books that I have put down right away after that because they didn't grab me, because they did exactly what those editors were telling me I was doing wrong. I didn't care. And showing is what makes the reader care. It engages the reader's imagination. That's why it's so important. It creates this connection between the reader and the character and the plot where they can see it, where they feel like they are right there. It's the immersive part of reading a book. It's why we read books as opposed to watch the movie version, right? We really like that immersive part of it. And that comes from powerful showing. If you're really struggling with show, not tell, or you just want a handy dandy checklist to go by, I have a free download for you. It's right there at the link below. So grab that and that will help you as you're learning to show, not tell, or as you're really taking your book to the next level. Now, you're probably gonna ask me, well, when do I show? How much do I show? Should it be 30%, 60%, 80%? All right, I'm sorry to tell you this, but there is no hard and fast rule. There are, however, some really good guidelines on when you should do it and when you shouldn't. What I want you to do is basically bake your showing into your book. Just like when you bake a cake, you have specific ingredients that have to go in at a certain time. And if you don't do it right, then the cake either won't rise or it'll be bitter or people will just not enjoy it. If you want people to say, this is the best chocolate cake I've ever had in my life, then you've really got to learn how to show at the right time, with the right words, with the right character, with the right everything. So I have 4 pillars for that. The first one is really important. It should be believable to this character and this part of the plot. Now, when you have like a car chase or characters hustling to get out the door because they've got to pack the kids' lunch and find the car keys and put the leftovers in the fridge and get to work, they don't have time to run through memories. You don't stand there in the kitchen and think, oh, when I was young. Like, you don't have time for that in real life. And your characters don't either. One of the things you really want to make sure of is that this makes sense in that part of the plot, for the character to think these thoughts or to have this emotional moment. And it has to be believable to that character. What I care about is not necessarily what my husband cares about. For instance, I'm huge on planting native plants that bring in pollinators and help bees and butterflies. I know exactly which plants will benefit which butterflies. My husband just likes the plants. And he's like, oh, look at the pretty butterfly. He has no idea if it's a swallowtail or a monarch or a gulf fritter, because that's not what's important to him. It's the same with your characters. What is important to this character, what they have been brought up with, what they are going after, who they are as a person, what fears and anxieties and insecurities they have, all of those things feed into what is believable for them to notice and not notice. That's why I talk so much about you really knowing your character. And I've got some videos on that if you want to kind of look at how do I get to know my character better and what would be believable at this moment in time in the book. In Chuck Wendig's Wanderers, which is a ginormous book, it's huge, but he had such powerful showing in here that it really captivated me and got me to care about the characters from the first page. 2 of the main characters are Shayna and Nessie. They're teenage girls whose mother died, and it's just them and their dad on this dairy farm. They're typical teenage girls, and Shayna is the eldest. She's kind of protective of her little sister, but also annoyed by her, and you can see that in the showing that Chuck Wendig uses. Little Dum Dum was halfway up the driveway in her PJ pants and pink t-shirt, barefoot too by the look of it. Oh, what the hell, Nessie? Like, you can just hear the annoyed teenager in Shayna's thoughts. And the fact that she doesn't call her a jerk, she just calls her a little dum-dum. You can see that it's a softening of the annoyance. And her sister keeps walking, and now Shayna gets really annoyed. Shayna jogged up ahead of her and planted her feet like roots. God, Nessie, what the hell are you? It was then she saw the girl's eyes. They were open. Her sister's gaze stood fixed at nothing, like she was looking through Shayna or staring around her. Now, there's a little bit of showing, a little bit of telling in there. But here's a really powerful showing sentence that Chuck uses. Dead eyes, dead like the flat tops of fat nails. I stopped and I looked at that sentence and thought, how powerful is that? You can see that, right? Just that non-shiny, just kind of going nowhere, silvery, sort of matte-like. And now the reader is thinking, what's wrong with this girl? And it is believable that Shayna would be annoyed and then go along and notice these details about her sister. But she doesn't dwell on them so long. She's kind of like, what the heck? And she sort of gets in her sister's way and her sister bumps into her without caring. And now Shayna's starting to put the pieces together that things are wrong. So it's a very believable moment for a teenage girl. Secondly, the character needs the ability and time to notice these details. If Shayna had been running for the school bus and she was late, she wouldn't have had the time to notice these details. If your character is rushing through a car chase or trying to run from the bad guys, they're not going to notice the details of the buildings that they're running past unless one of those buildings is where they're going to hide from the bad guys. So they have to have the ability and time to notice it. Thirdly, you should keep it specific and impactful. Meaning, when you show, not tell, you don't want to show for paragraph after paragraph after paragraph. That's called purple prose, where you're overdoing it. And nobody likes a story that rambles. I'm sorry, but nobody likes that. Even though Chuck Wendig has like 1,000 pages in this book, all of it moves pretty quickly. And there's a lot of plot that happens too, a lot of action. So that when the showing comes, you're just like, wow, that was pretty powerful. And that's exactly what showing should do. It should have an emotional impact on the character and on the reader. Emotional impact is everything in your book. Emotional impact is what makes people recommend your book. You may think, well, no, I need this really great plot with like a submarine chase and a thriller and some kind of a big mystery. Those are great. I'm not saying that those shouldn't be in your book. But what makes people talk about a book is characters they care about. And what makes characters that you care about is baking in this showing, not telling. Okay, so how do you do it? How do you know when it's a time to show, not tell? Is it a moment that you want the reader to pay attention to? Because if it is, that's when you want to show, not tell. Is it a moment that's having a big impact on your character or has a big impact on the plot and the future? That's where you show, not tell. This moment where Shayna notices her sister and what's going on, this kicks off the entire plot of Wanderers, the whole plot. So it's a very key moment. It's a good time for Chuck Wendig to show. Is it a moment that you want the reader to feel something? Whether that's humor or sadness or excitement, whatever emotion you want the reader to feel at that moment, that's when you should show, not tell. Is there a percentage of one nut versus the other? No, there really isn't. There is your gut instinct that you develop based on reading a lot. Not just a little, you got to read a lot because that gives you those gut instincts to say, maybe I should layer in a little bit more here. Now, don't worry about showing, not telling on your first draft of your book. Really, I want you to just write it, get through it, or at least get through the scene. Personally, I write about a third, then I go back and start layering, then I write the next third, and then I go back and layer all the way from the beginning. Then I write the final third and go back and layer all the way through, and then I write the last scene. I have an entire series on revision if you want to see how I do that. That's me kind of adding the showing at the moments that I know, having written the book, are going to be important. And I'm not doing it all in one go because I don't know yet. Until I start writing the book and getting to know these people and seeing how the plot plays out on the page, I don't really know what is a critical moment yet. But my gut will tell me. If you're going back and you're reading your book and you're like, I'm bored, or I don't know, this doesn't seem like it's an important scene, then maybe you need to either take it out or add some showing to it. How do you know if you're showing versus telling? Well, there's some key things with telling that I talk about in this video here that I'm going to link at the end of this video that you should look for. I give you the key words to look for that will literally tell you that you are telling. You can mix them together, and that's totally fine. If you study really well-written fiction, you will see that the author mixes and matches with the show, not tell, so that the author can get through the paragraph and get the characters from A to B, and then also add that emotional impact. That section from Chuck Wendig's book that I just quoted, dead eyes, dead like the flat tops of fat nails, Gone was the luster of wonder. That spark is a mix of showing, not telling. But still, it has power because of the comparison that he created in there and that really vivid picture in one sentence. You can have a sentence like, she was walking down the street at a slow pace, or she was walking down the street slowly. Not bad. It does get across the whole thing that the character was walking down the street slowly. But in Wanderers, the fact that the character is walking down the street slowly is important to the plot. So Chuck shows it, and he does it in a much more powerful way. If he had just said, Nessie was walking slowly down the street, it wouldn't have the same impact as this. There's a big rain puddle, and Shayna calls out, Nessie, watch out, there's a... Too late, and here's the showing. Nessie plodded right through it. Splish, splash, feet in the water almost up to the ankles, still going and going, like a wind-up toy set to beeline in one direction. Still staring ahead, still moving forward, arms stiff by her side, her gait sure and steady. That boom, 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 which Chuck is also showing with his pacing of these sentences, immediately tells Shayna and the reader something's wrong. It puts together the whole puzzle piece for the reader. It's powerful. It's well done. That's what you want to get across. You can show, not tell, not just in the powerful words that you choose, but the order you put them in, how short your sentences are, how you break them apart, and what you put at the end of them. There's a million tools to it that I don't have time for in this particular video. Let's do one more example of a before and after from Wanderers. Now, this is my own made up before. Chuck Wendig probably did not write this. He's a really powerful writer. What if he wrote, Shayna was worried about her sister and wanted to show her that she loved her? It's not bad, right? It can make the plot move along a little bit, but it's not as powerful as what he actually did. A stray thought landed in her head like a rock coming through a window. When was the last time we hugged each other? She opened her arms and grabbed her sister. Shayna keeps holding on because she's thinking, well, maybe I just need to hold her tighter. Then Chuck shows again because this is a key plot point. So he takes the time to show and to create this emotion at the same time. Nessie's teeth chattered. Blood trickled from her nose as her body began to spasm and rise in temperature. It was hot, too hot, and Nessie's skin felt like the hood of a black car that had been sitting too long in the summer sun, and Shayna thought to double down, to hold on tighter, bucking bronco style, but a panicked certainty screamed through her mind. You see again how Chuck used one very long, fast-paced sentence to create that sense of panic in the reader? It's another way to show. Shayna thinks, let her go now. Shayna let go, backpedaling suddenly. Nessie blinked for the first time this morning. Relief flooded through Shayna. I did it. She's okay. So then Chuck does this brilliant thing where he slows down the sentences and allows Shayna to literally take a breath at the same time as the reader. I did it. She's okay. But then the girl's eyes clouded over once more. Her eyeballs rotated in her head like lottery balls and then pinned her gaze again on the horizon. Nessie walked forward anew, the shakes gone, her nose and upper lip still bloody. Shayna collapsed and wept as her sister kept on walking, right across the broken glass, seeming not to feel it. That was a really powerful scene. I really felt bad for Shayna because I can see this teenager who tries so hard to help her sister and then just collapses. That's the power of showing instead of telling. When you make it believable, when you make it something that that particular character would be able to see and notice, when you keep it specific and impactful, then you absolutely create an emotional place on the page. And when you have emotion, you create connection. And when you create connection, you create a book that readers love. And when readers love it, they talk about it. I mean, it's just this simple little cycle, right? And I preach on it all the time because I want you guys to write books that people love. I want you guys to write books where I'm sitting here on my channel talking about your book to other people because it was so good. I want you guys to do that. And don't forget, I have that handout on how to show, not tell at the link below. Also, don't forget to subscribe and like and share it because sharing is caring and you want other writers to write really amazing books too. So go back into your book, try to show a little bit more than you tell, and check out this video here for some more specifics on what words to look for and what words to avoid, and try a little harder on the page because the payoff will be totally worth it. And I will see you on the other side of the page.